On July 13, 1985, the world changed. 1.9 billion people were watching. One stage, one band, one man. At 6:41 p.m. on July 13, 1985, Freddie Mercury stepped onto the Wembley Stadium stage with nothing but a white tank top, faded jeans, and a studded belt. No sound check, no special effects, no safety net. And in the next 21 minutes, he didn't just perform. He rewrote rock history. No pyrotechnics, no costume changes. Just a piano, a microphone, and a voice that could command the world. By the time Queen left the stage, they hadn't just played at Live Aid, they had stolen it. And in one flawless, electrifying set, Freddie Mercury delivered what is still hailed as the greatest live performance of all time. It was supposed to be a charity concert, a global broadcast to raise money for famine relief in Ethiopia. But by midday, the momentum was fading. The sound was weak. The energy was flat. Fans in the crowd were tired. TV audiences were drifting. Then came Queen, and in less than half an hour, they reignited the entire world. And in those 21 minutes, Freddie Mercury captivated the world. No elaborate lighting, no rehearsals. Just daylight, raw sound, and a band that knew exactly what to do. Freddie walked out like he owned the planet, because in that moment, he did. No cape, no crown, no glitter. Just a white tank top hugging his chest, Adidas wrestling boots gripping the stage, and that unmistakable mustache. Sharp, proud, iconic. He didn't need spectacle. He was the spectacle. And when he leaned into the microphone and began the haunting opening of Bohemian Rhapsody, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? The crowd rose as one. The cameras locked on. And the world stopped. This wasn't just a performance. It was a masterclass in control. Freddie didn't sing to the audience. He conducted them. With a flick of his wrist, a wink, a raised eyebrow. When Queen launched into Radio Gaga, the entire stadium clapped in perfect, thunderous unison. Not by accident. By design, Freddie had trained them, not with words, but with rhythm, timing, and sheer magnetism. And then, the moment that echoed around the planet. After the final chorus, he paused, held up his hand, and led 72,000 people, and 1.9 billion more in a 30-second Calandra response that would become legend. I-O, I-O. Louder, faster, tighter. It wasn't just a chant, 'twas a global heartbeat. Journalists later called it the note heard around the world. Not a single sound, but a wave of unity crashing across continents. And it was all Freddie's idea. His rhythm, his command, his genius. One after another, Queen delivered their greatest hits. Tightened, sharpened, perfected for the moment. Hammer to fall. A burst of fire. Crazy little thing called love. A swaggering rockabilly twist. We will rock you. Stomping the earth into rhythm. And finally, we are the champions. Not as a victory lap, but as a declaration of dominance. Freddie started at the piano. He ended at the piano. And in between, he never stopped moving, never stopped commanding, never stopped feeling. His vocals, flawless, powerful, unreal. Brian May later admitted, "The rest of us played okay, but Freddie was out there and took it to another level." And he was right. Because while other bands treated Live Aid like a gig, Freddie treated it like a mission. This wasn't just about playing songs, it was about connecting. About making every single person in the stadium, on the couch, in a war zone, in a hospital, feel like they were part of something bigger, and he did it. Behind him, Brian, Roger, and John played with precision and fire. Not to steal the spotlight, but to support the king. Brian's guitar sang. Roger's drums thundered. John stayed silent, steady, the anchor. But the show was Freddie's, and he knew it. He blew kisses, he strutted. He owned every inch of that stage, and when it ended, he didn't bow. He basked, arms wide, chest out, grinning like a man who had just conquered the world, because he had. After the set, as the band left the stage, Freddie rushed to his trailer, drenched in sweat. His first words, "Thank God that's over." Adrenaline still pumping, he downed a large vodka. Then, as he stepped outside, Elton John was waiting, grinning, shaking his head, and he said, "You bastards, you stole the show." He wasn't wrong. Bob Geldof, the man who organized Live Aid, later said, "Queen were absolutely the best band of the day. They played the best, had the best sound, used their time perfectly. They understood the idea exactly. It was a global jukebox." And Freddie, he could just pounce about on stage, doing "We Are the Champions." How perfect could it get? Dave Grohl put it simply, Queen smoked them. They just took everybody. They walked away being the greatest band you'd ever seen in your life. And that is why they should be recognized as one of the greatest rock bands of all time. Because they could connect with an audience, and that's the truth. Queen didn't win Live Aid with tricks. They won with connection, with energy, with a frontman who looked into the camera, into your eyes, and made you feel like you were the only person in the world. At a time when rock was becoming bloated, overproduced, self-indulgent, Queen stripped it back. No sound check, no special effects, just music. And a man who could make 1.9 billion people feel like they were part of the band. Brian May once said, "It was our opportunity to show that it's the music, first and foremost." They sent their brilliant engineer, Trip Khalaf, to set the sound limits in advance. So when they played, they were louder than anyone else, clearer, stronger. "I remember being in the audience," Brian said, "hearing the first few acts, and I could hardly hear them. You've got to overwhelm the crowd in a stadium," and overwhelm they did. In 21 minutes, Queen didn't just play a set. They silenced their critics. They proved that live music wasn't about spectacle. It was about presence, about power, about one man who could turn a stadium into a cathedral. Years later, Freddie's partner, Jim Hutton, recalled that day in his memoir, Freddie and Me. It was his first Queen concert. He wrote, "When he came off, he rushed to his trailer and I tottered behind like a puppy. Joe ripped his wet clothes from him and dressed him." Adrenaline still overflowing, Freddie knocked back a large vodka to calm himself. Then his face lit up. Because he knew, they all knew, something historic had just happened. And now, decades later, we still watch that performance. We still gasp at the AO moment. We still feel chills during Bohemian Rhapsody. We still stand up when We Are the Champions begins. Because it wasn't just great, it was perfect. Not flashy, not overblown. Just pure, undeniable rock and roll mastery. Freddie Mercury never chased legacy. He didn't care about being called the greatest. He just did what he loved, on his terms, with total freedom. And on that day, in front of the whole world, he gave us 21 minutes of pure magic. No gimmicks, no apologies, just truth. And in those 21 minutes, Queen didn't just play at Live Aid. They owned it, they defined it, and they won it forever.